All right, Calculus, welcome to your quick review video for your review unit quiz, which is on Friday. Folks, here are the answers in hopefully full detail of that sweet review you have. Again, we went over one. Make sure to take care of this first and then multiply through. Pause this whenever you need. I'm going to make this under 15 minutes so that I can just be one video. Guys, you need to clean up the inside here. It's going to give you 4. There are more x's. 11 minus 7 is 4, but 4 divided by 2 is x squared. That's why it's x squared. Do 7 minus negative 2, that's 9. Divide it by 3, that's how we get y to the third. Square everything, a power to a power, you multiply. 4 squared is 16. Shouldn't be too bad. All right, factor out what they have in common. There's just factoring by grouping. We did a pretty good job on 2a. Easy factoring on 2b. Definitely like 3a. Just distributes. Again, you should practice the same one that you get today. You need to have these down quickly. This page has got to be super quick for us on Friday. I'd expect to see all these questions again. Really like these. Remember to square the first term. The inner product is 15x, double it. That's a negative sign, stays through. When you square a negative, you get a positive 9. All right, so that page, pretty easy when we get through that. I also really like this next page, all right? Simplify, factor the top, factor the bottom, cancel. You got x plus 7 over x minus 5. Here, folks, subtract 6 everywhere. Divide by 4 to get just the single x in the middle. All right. Then you can also write it in interval notation. You don't have to, but that's how you write it. Absolute value inequalities, you always have 2 inequalities there. All right, 3 over 2, not 1.5. And then 4x is greater than or equal to negative 12. Technically, that is an and statement there because you can be less than 1.5 or 3 over 2 and greater than negative 3, so you can write it as an interval. Anyway, folks, here we talked about 6a in class. Just move the x's over to the left, numbers to the right. Piece of cake factor, your 2 zeros are negative 6, positive 3. Move the 2 over, divide by 3, square both sides. Add 5, divide by 2. Here, this one is really just like b, only that instead of having x and x, you're going to have x squared and x squared. All right, so when you take the square root, it's always plus or minus. You should have 4 answers. That means you could have 4 answers, plus, minus, that is 4 solutions. All right, take a look at 7. 7 should be a piece of cake. You got a piecewise function, 3 different equations. Where does negative 3 fit? Negative 3 is less than negative 2, so I plug negative 3 in that top equation, which I did there. Get 30. Remember, I want to put these out of order when you get this question on Friday, so don't just assume it's going in order like this one did. Negative 2 would fit in that interval right there, so I plug it in right there. All right, I get 3. And then 5 would fit in the last interval there. It is greater than or equal to 4. Plug it in, you get 37. Again, expect that to be out of order on your quiz Friday. I want to find an equation of the line which is both parallel and perpendicular. So obviously that's 2 different lines. Okay, it can't be both, we're not going to have both parallel and perpendicular. All right, so first we're going to find the parallel line. If this has a slope of negative 1 over 4, then my parallel line also has a slope of negative 1 over 4. So I can write y equals negative 1/4 x plus b. And then I'm going to plug in negative 4 and 3 in for x and y. All right, and I get 2 for my y-intercept. There's my equation. Opposite reciprocal is the slope for the perpendicular line. So flip it, give it the opposite sign. 4 1 is 4. Y is 4x plus b. Plug in 3 for y, negative 4 for x. You get y is 4x plus 19. All right. Next page, folks, state just the vertical asymptotes. So factor the bottom. If it doesn't cancel, set it equal to 0. You got 2 vertical asymptotes there. 9b, folks, the x plus 5's cancel, so x equals negative 5 as a whole. It's not a vertical asymptote, so don't state it. Find the inverse. All right, so first off, f of x is y, then you switch x and y, and you solve for y. So add 6 to both sides, multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 2. Again, you're going to call it f inverse. That is 3 halves x plus 9. We skipped over this one in class. We just multiply by 180 over pi if you're looking to get rid of pi. So do 2 times 180, that's 360 divided by 5, 72 degrees. Multiply by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. 6 times 180 is not that. That is 1080. 1080 divided by 5, that is 216 degrees. 216, change that. This one is right though. 9 times 180 divided by 4 is 405 degrees. This actually goes through the unit circle a full rotation plus an extra 45 degrees. Anyway, folks, just multiply by pi over 180. 160 divided by 180 is 8 over 9. Attach pi. Here, 210 divided by 180 is 7 over 6. Attach pi. 320 over 180 is 16 over 9. Attach pi. Change base formula. Do log of 22 divided by log of the base. 2.23. Log of 19. So I call it the big number, not because it's necessarily larger, but because it's written bigger, over log of the base. Log of 124 divided by log of the base, which is 7. That should be a pretty easy question for us. All right, really like 14 here. Use the range for theta. So I'm telling you that theta is in the second quadrant. We need to know that it goes 0, pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, and back to 2 pi, which is 0. All right, if I tell you that cosine is negative 5 over 13, then I'm telling you that the adjacent and the hypotenuse are those two values. This is a 5, 12, 13 triangle. If you don't know that, do the Pythagorean theorem. So then tangent would be opposite over adjacent. That's how we get 12 over negative 5, which is negative 12 over 5. You can pause this whenever you need to. We didn't do 15 in class, guys. If you want to get rid of e, you need to attach natural log both sides. That will cancel this out. 2x will come down. You get 2x is natural log 7. Divide both sides by 2. Here, first off, divide both sides by 3. If I want to get rid of natural log, I need to attach e to both sides as a base. So these will cancel. X minus 1 will come on down. And you're going to add 1. So e to the 4th plus 1. Leave it as exact, no decimals. You simply just set the inside the square root equal to 0. Figure out what values give you 0. Anything in between negative 5 and 5 is going to count. Again, we could graph that. That's going to be the top half of the circle. The domain, though, is negative 5 to 5. 17 here, folks. F of x is 2x minus 3. G of x is 7x plus 4. So f of g of x, that means f of 7x plus 4. Plug 7x plus 4 in for x in that equation. And just distribute. 8 minus 3, that's a 14. Doesn't look great, but 14. 14x plus 5. All right. Now, I'm going to come back and go over, so there's going to be a short video. Oops, over 18. Make sure to give you those in a little bit. So let's just skip that right now. Okay, so the also know questions. Again, if I added these are highly likely to also be in your quiz. All right, find sine theta and cosine theta. Tangents is 5 over 12, and it's in the third quadrant. That means both of these are negative. A negative divided by negative will give you that positive. Negative 5, negative 12 is 5, 12, 13 triangle. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and sine is opposite over hypotenuse. All right, so on 20, if I have this parabola, which it is, I want to figure out when it is under the x-axis, when it is less than or equal to 0. So just find the zeros, negative 5 and 6, negative 5, 6. Make a rough sketch of it. When is this graph below 0? Well, between negative 5 and 6, including both, because I have that inclusion there. Less than or equal to. Now, when is that? That's a parabola there. It's x squared. When is that above the x-axis? So again, I'm just going to factor it. I get the zeros of negative 6, positive 6. Graph that. Negative 36 would be my y-intercept. It is symmetrical there. When is it above the x-axis? Greater than 0. We're there and there. So anything from negative infinity to negative 6, not including it. And then from 6 to infinity, again, not including 6. All right. Then on C, same type of question as A, only I want it above the x-axis. Okay, so find my two zeros, negative 4 and 1. There's negative 4, 1. When is it above the x-axis? Negative infinity to negative 4, including negative 4, because it can be equal to. And then from 1 to infinity, including 1, because it can be equal to. All right? And then, so you're going to have like one of those. I'd expect one of those. And I would expect to see 20D. So folks, you need to find your two critical values. Set your top equal to 0. Find that y, or that x-intercept, which is 3. And then find that vertical asymptote. So set this equal to 0. You get x equals negative 1. So my first interval is negative infinity all the way to the left on the graph to my first critical point, which is negative 1. Then it goes -1 to my second critical point, which is 3, and then 3 to infinity. Okay? I need to find a test value to plug in to see if this statement is true or false. So I'm going to use -2. Plug -2 in here. I'm going to get -10 up top over -1. -10 over -1 is greater than or equal to 0, so that makes that statement true. Then I'm going to plug 0 in, because 0 fits in between -1 and 3. Again, this is something we're going to do a lot in the actual calculus portion of this class. I get -6 over 1. -6 over 1 is not greater than or equal to 0. That's false. In the second interval, I'm going to plug 4. Plug that in. I get 2 over 5. 2 over 5 is greater than or equal to 0, so that's true. So anyway, when is this rational function greater than or equal to 0? Well, in my true parts, from -infinity to -1, union 3 to infinity. All right, that will be one of the harder questions. That is just for sure. All right, folks, take a look at 21. F of g of -2, figure out what g of -2 is, and whatever you get, plug it into the F equation, which you guys see right there. This is probably going to be a quick page. G of f of 4, figure out f of 4, whatever you get, plug it into the g equation. F of g of x, so g of x is 2x squared plus 5, so plug that in for x in the F equation and distribute. Talked about this one in class. I didn't give you the full answer though. So g of 7 minus 4x, plug that in for x in the g equation, which means you're going to have to square that and then distribute, clean that bad boy up. So again, pause that to get that answer. F of -4. What is f of -4? Plug that back into the F equation and for x. And then is that g of 1. Plug 1 in for x in the g equation, and then plug 7 in for x in the g equation. Not too bad there. All right, factors, you're going to have to do guess and check. So there are the answers, and that's why. Just distribute. -4x plus 15x is 11x. Here, 2x minus 5, 2x minus 3, because -10x minus 6x is -16x. You know, I'll make them very similar to this, okay? Here it is, 3x plus 20x is 23x. Just do the two middle parts of the FOIL in there. One's negative, one's positive here. -2x plus 9x is 7x. Here, take out the 2 they have in common. This is just a difference of 2 perfect squares. Take out the 3 that they both have in common, then it's just a difference of 2 perfect squares. All right, let's see. We did not talk about this one in class, folks. You might have a few of these. Sine inverse is positive in the first quadrant. So draw a triangle in the first quadrant with a sine of 3/4. Pythagorean theorem gives me √7 right there. So cosine would be adjacent √7 over the hypotenuse. Again, I'm going to go through this quick, so pause it whenever you need. Sine inverse is negative in the fourth quadrant. So opposite hypotenuse is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Cosine is simply 3/5. Cos inverse, that's going to give you a positive answer in the first quadrant. Do the Pythagorean theorem, that gives you 24. So sine is simply, again, theta always originates right there. Right angle is always made with the x-axis. Sine is 24/25. Made a little boo-boo there. Tan inverse is negative. Gives you negative value in the fourth quadrant. So sine would be opposite over hypotenuse, which is going to be √10. Multiply top and bottom by √10, you get -√10 over 10. Then E, folks, sine inverse is going to give you positive in the first quadrant, √3/4. Do the old Pythagorean theorem, and you're going to get √13. So tangent is opposite over adjacent. Multiply top and bottom by √13. √3 times √13 is √39. We did that in Algebra 2 bunch. Tan inverse is going to give you negative values in the fourth quadrant. All right, Pythagorean theorem is going to give you √13 there. Adjacent over hypotenuse is 2 over √13, which is 2 √13 over 13. All right, we are going to give the other answers in this next video. So this is your first video, folks. Yak Math Videos signing out.